Hey guys, I just had the most amazing afternoon, and I just wanted to give a shout out to all the moms and dads out there who haven't quite yet reached this stage. I've been a mom for 20 years. It's my favorite thing I've ever done. I absolutely adore my children. But last weekend, I moved my youngest daughter over to London, and my oldest daughter is living in Dublin now, and they're both in college and kind of really rocking into their groove, and like, what more could one hope for? So I was traveling last weekend. I came back, I worked all week, and so I worked yesterday and went to bed last night, and so today's the first day that I've actually awakened where I was all by myself, and I got up when I wanted to. I took the dogs out and kind of just laid around for a little while, and then realized that E.T. was on in the cinema. E.T. phone home. So it's the 40th anniversary. Oh my gosh. So just, just for a little reality check, I'm 53, so I was 13 when that was in the cinema. Star Wars had already come out. It was really a golden age because we were seeing things for the very first time that we'd never seen before. And of course that, that iconic scene of Elliot pedaling the bicycle across the moon with E.T. in the front basket, and that amazing music playing in the background, and just makes you fall in love with cinema all over again. But it was really interesting because I was sitting in there, and there was a child across who was obviously so young. This was their first time seeing E.T., and he was just in floods of tears, like the raw emotion that it elicited out of this child, and just, he was looking at his parents, and he was like, is he actually dead? Like he was living the movie, and it was just so endearing to watch. But I sat there and I realized, gosh, I was 13 years old, so I was getting ready the following year to start high school, and to kind of move through and then into my adult life and all. And today, with my two girls settled and moved away, like permanently, and, into college, so, they'll come home for visits and all that, but this is kind of the first day of the rest of my life. And I was sitting in there and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm literally time traveling here, and I was thrown back to the age of 13 and all that 1982 had to offer, and it was so awesome. It really was. I'm so grateful to be an 80s kid. I really am. I wouldn't wish that I had come along any later, because I would have missed everything that only we 80s kids know. And it was an amazingly crazy time in this world. It was incredible. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was overcome with this feeling of this is what it felt like back then, when I still had my future ahead of me. I didn't know where I was going to college. I didn't know if I was going to college. I didn't know, who I was going to marry, if I was going to have children, whatever. And it was this freedom of just being 13 and sitting there watching E.T. And it was like it triggered this switch, and I was like, and I took this big deep breath, and I was looking over at the child who was crying, and I was like crying right along with him. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, because for the first time in a really, really long time, I'm me again. Now, am I at the other end of the phone? Can I jump in the car if something goes wrong with the kids? Of course. That's not what I'm talking about. But this kind of freedom of going out and not having to kind of look over my shoulder every 5 seconds because they're not like physically around me. It would take a phone call and a trip to get to either one of them. So there's just this kind of unshackling is the best way I can describe it. That, all you parents know what I'm talking about. It's like you go out for dinner and a movie and you have a small child at home, you're always on high alert. It's just the way it is. And it is this weird feeling. It reminds me of when I gave birth to Gemma, and she had been stuck up under my diaphragm, and I don't think I breathed properly for 9 solid months. And when the baby came out, I remember taking this deep breath, and I was so flooded with oxygen that I almost passed out. And it was the weirdest feeling. And that's what today feels like. It's like this kind of, oh my gosh, I made it! So the world is their oyster. I'm going to do everything I can to love and support them through all that. But I'm like, oh my gosh, it's time for me again. And I'm like, my brain is spinning. And I know people are like, just rest, just rest, just rest. And I will, and I do. But oh my gosh, the idea of having some time to pick back up the things that were Mary Helen before Mary Helen was a mom. You know, because I've done a lot while I was a mom. I've written 9 books while I was a mom. But the idea of being able to do that without that kind of imminent pressure that there is always someplace to go. I was like, I woke up this morning, I was going, nobody was asking me to take them to get their groceries. Nobody was asking me to drive them back up to school. It was the strangest feeling. Now, my daughter just called me and she's like, hey, Mom, I'm coming home tomorrow for 2 days. And I'm like, okay, I have today. I got today. And it's just incredible. So, yeah, so just to all you moms and dads out there, it's around the corner. It comes. And I'm not going to say it comes quick because it's been 20 years. It's, you know, in some ways it's been a short time, but really I've lived every moment of those 20 years and I wouldn't look back for anything. I'm excited to be where I am. I'm excited to be this age, and I'm excited to be in the world in the state that it's in right now, because there are so many possibilities. Literally, we are living in the seed plot of infinite possibilities, and I'm excited. Peace out, y'all.